In the dust-choked backroads of America's heartland, the legend of Bonnie and Clyde was starting to crack. The thrill of the chase, once a potent drug, was now a source of constant, gnawing anxiety. The gang, once a tight-knit unit bound by rebellion, was beginning to fray at the seams. Their latest bank job, a rushed and desperate affair in a sleepy Iowa town, had gone spectacularly wrong. The plan was simple, or so it seemed, but under the weight of exhaustion and paranoia, simplicity became a tangled mess. Clyde, usually the picture of cool-headed confidence, fumbled. The bank teller, a young man no older than W.D. Jones, triggered a silent alarm before Clyde even got the words out. Shots were fired, not at anyone in particular, but in a wild, panicked spray. They escaped, but with barely enough cash to fill their gas tank, leaving behind a shattered window and even more shattered nerves. The engine of their Ford V8 whined in protest as they sped away, the sound mirroring the frantic beat of their hearts. This wasn't a clean getaway. It was a clumsy retreat. Back at their hideout, a dilapidated farmhouse miles from anywhere, the mood was grim. The usual post-strawberry celebration, the counting of cash and the swigging of whiskey, was replaced by a heavier, accuseless silence. Clyde paced the creaking floorboards, his face a mask of frustration. He wasn't just angry about the botched job. He was angry at himself. His legendary bravado had faltered. Clyde Barrow, the man who had outsmarted lawmen from Texas to Minnesota, had lost his nerve. He replayed the robbery in his mind. Every misstep, every hesitant move. The swagger was gone, replaced by a deep-seated doubt that gnawed at his soul. He saw the way the others looked at him, not with admiration, but with a new, unsettling flicker of uncertainty. His authority, the very glue holding the gang together, was weakening. Bonnie felt it most acutely. She watched Clyde, her heart aching for the confident man she had fallen for. But a different feeling was creeping in. The romance of their life on the run had faded, leaving behind the stark, brutal reality. Every siren in the distance made her jump. Every unfamiliar car on the horizon sent a jolt of panic through her. She was tired of the dirt, tired of the fear, tired of sleeping in the cramped backseat of a stolen car with a gun on her lap. The poems she once wrote, filled with defiant glamour, now felt like a bitter irony. She had written about dying together, a blaze of glory. but the reality she was facing felt less like a blaze and more like a slow, agonizing fizzle. She longed for a hot bath, a soft bed, a single night where she wasn't looking over her shoulder. This fear was a poison, slowly seeping into her love for Clyde, tainting it with resentment. The tension wasn't lost on the others. Double-Eddie Jones, the young getaway driver, was jumpy and irritable. Buck and Blanche Barrow, though fiercely loyal to Clyde, exchanged worried glances when they thought no one was looking. But it was Henry Methvin, the newest and most impressionable member of the gang, who was truly cracking under the pressure. He had joined up seeking adventure and easy money, but the failed robbery had been a terrifying wake-up call. He saw the desperation in Clyde's eyes and the fear in Bonnie's. He realized this wasn't a game. This was a death sentence waiting to be carried out. Driven by self-preservation, a desperate fear for his own life, Henry made a choice that would seal the fate of Bonnie and Clyde forever. Late one night, while the others slept fitfully, he slipped away from the farmhouse. He found a payphone in a nearby town, his hands trembling as he dropped a nickel into the slot. On the other end of the line was a man he never thought he'd speak to, a Texas lawman. Henry's voice was a hushed, frantic whisper. He told them everything: their routines, their plans, their likely next move. He offered them Clyde Barrow, the most wanted man in America, on a silver platter. In exchange, he wanted a deal. He wanted a pardon. He wanted to live. The lawman. On the other end, Frank Hammer listened intently. Hammer was a legendary Texas Ranger, a man who had been hunting the Barrow Gang with a relentless, single-minded focus. He had been one step behind them for months, and now, a break. A massive, game-changing break. The tip from a terrified insider was the key he had been searching for. He knew this was his one and only chance to end the bloody saga. He agreed to Henry's terms, his mind already racing, piecing together the final, deadly puzzle. With Henry's information, the plan began to crystallize. It wouldn't be another chaotic shootout in a town square. It would be an ambush. A carefully orchestrated trap on a quiet country road. Hammer and his posse knew the route the gang would take. They knew the car they would be driving. Henry had told them that his own father's home in Louisiana was a potential stop, a place where the gang might try to lay low. This was the perfect location. It was isolated, predictable. The lawmen chose their spot, a stretch of road flanked by dense woods on one side and a steep embankment on the other. There would be no escape. They settled in to wait, their patience a stark contrast to the gang's frantic, desperate movements. The air grew thick with anticipation. For the lawmen, it was the culmination of a long and frustrating hunt for Bonnie and Clyde, blissfully unaware of the betrayal in their midst. It was just another day on the run, another broken road leading them closer to their inevitable end. The trap was set. All that was left was for the prey to walk into it.